Breaking news. Welcome to today's headlines. Constructive dictatorship of Buhari's government must never be emulated. Ogunwusi speaks. Constructive dictatorship of Buhari's government must never be emulated. Ogunwusi speaks. To my dear listeners from wherever you're listening from, please stay tuned as I read today's news. As the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu dragged federal government to the Supreme Court to contest his continued detention at the custody of the Directorate of State Security DSS after 17 months. Legal practitioner and former editor of the Nigerian Tribune, Dapo Ogunwusi, in this interview with Imole Oyedeyi, examined the series of disobedience of court orders by the President Muhammadu Buhari's government and their implication on the country's democratic dispensation. "17 months after the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu had languished at the custody of the Directorate of State Security, DSS. The Court of Appeal in Abuja ordered his immediate release and exonerated him of all terrorism charges. But the DSS refused to release him for some days, and the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Malam Abubakar Malami, afterwards filed a stay of execution of the judgment, which was subsequently granted. Now, the IPOB leaders dragged the government before the Supreme Court to set aside the ruling of the appellate court. What do you make of this, sir? Ordinarily, I feel that we live in a constructive dictatorship. You see, we have a regime at the apex that is only interested in paying lip service to the idea of law and other demographic service. Sometimes you wonder why they even bother to go to court at all, because they have already made up their mind on what they are going to do. They only expect the judges to rubber stamp the binding. But it is not all judges that can be swayed to such frivolous manipulation. And I know that Nigeria has a vast host of credible individuals as judges. It is not the first time Nigerian judges are standing up to dictatorship, and it will not be the last time. Basically, I understand that the government, especially this Buhari's government, has a clear aversion for what I call territorial agitation. Basically, they have the duty to hold Nigeria together in total disregard of what the law wants and what the law says, and in total disregard of equity. If there is a vacancy today, before anybody knows, they would have filed it with people of northern extraction. I mean that much is known to everybody. And they only just throw crops once in a while to people down south just to outsuit their own conscience. That is, if they did have any. And when you have all these matters being tabled on the altar of justice, you expect them to at least obey. Unlike now, the military government was once taken to court and defeated trenchantly, and it obeyed the court ruling. But in the case of Buhari and his men, they don't really bother what the people do or what the court does, because they believe nobody can stop them as they are in control of agencies. As such, they refuse court judgments that are unfavorable. The Attorney General should resign for making the kinds of comments he has made so far in the face of a competent decision of the appropriate court in the land. It is a big shame, but he is emboldened by the government's capacity to manipulate everything and harass people anyhow into submission. You will remember there was a time when the homes of judges were invaded and violated in the dead of the night by the same regime. It shows the kind of respect they have for the judiciary. I have no doubt that we live in a constructive dictatorship. We are wholly on the precipice of what I will call total dictatorship, which is the kind of avenue they put on top of what they have been doing. When there is any issue, they will say, let us go to court. But they don't listen to anything the court says, as long as it violates their own self-chosen red line. I mean, it is a big shame on the Attorney General and his office, and I think he should resign without further ado. Look at when they appointed the head of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The guy was not qualified, but they bent the law and rules just to ensure that he became the head of EFCC. The rules were there and the laws that guide the EFCC appointment were there as well. They saw the laws, but still they went to promote him overnight. Is that a democracy? To my dear listeners, now we've come to the end of our today's news. Please do drop by at the comment section and let us know what your view is all about. Thank you for listening.